really pleased with the way our players come out and did a really good job of sort of building on the momentum of the Ole Miss game from the previous week. Controlled the line of scrimmage, very efficient in the passing game offensively. Defensively, we controlled the line of scrimmage up front, put up a few explosive plays, something that we need to continue to work on. But I think the focus moving forward, knowing that the resistance is going to be greater and greater as we go through the season and go through our league, is everybody's got to focus on improvement, getting better, better execution as a team. Lots of players got experience in this last game. They need to focus on what they need to do to improve and become complete players at their position, which is sometimes difficult for young players to really understand. Everybody in the world is looking for immediate self-positive gratification for whatever it is they do. I mean, that's instant, tea, instant coffee, instant everything, instant self-gratification. And there's a process that everybody has to go through, to build to be successful, especially when you're a young player. And I think to get a lot of these guys in the game, to get an opportunity to play, to understand the importance of, preparation, being ready to play is something that they could really learn, so that they can focus on continuing to make progress, as a player. And it's not just about how much I play, but it's a lot about how good a player am I at my position, how well did I play. The games in front of us obviously going to be much more challenging, so we need to focus on what we need to do to continue to progress as a team and build on the improvement. From an injury standpoint, the only guy that's really going to be a little limited today is Denzel Duval. I think he'll be fine for the game, but the early part of the week he's going to be a little slow. It's always tough, to play in our league, especially on the road. I think Kentucky is really playing well as a team. Sometimes you look at the one-loss record, it's a little deceiving. These guys have played really 3 good football teams in a row, played them all tough, played them all well. Typically have given us tough games, the last 2 times we played them. Mark has done a really good job there. I think the players are playing hard. They play with a lot of toughness. They're really good on special teams, which, to me sometimes shows the character and attitude of your team as much as anything. They played 2 quarterbacks on offense. Both of them have a little different skill set. Jalen Whitlow, who was from Prattville, really played most of the game, all the game last week against South Carolina. He's really kind of a dual threat guy. He's a good runner. He's really continued to improve as a passer and was effective last week in that regard. Defensively, they have played better and better and better as the season has gone on. They played a lot of 4-3 early. They're playing a lot more 3-4 in the last 3 games, and they seem to be, pretty good, solid defensive team, and certainly play well on special teams and have good specialists. So, we expect this to be a difficult game, and I think that our players need to prepare for this team with a lot of respect, and I think our players understand how difficult it is to play on the road in our league. Well, I think that's the most important thing, for them, and, actually sat down and had a conversation with them, last week before we played this last game, and, said, don't try to force things to happen that really aren't there. Don't try to think that you got to make a big play or put pressure on yourself that, you want to make an explosive play, so you're going to take a chance, throwing one up when, something else is available to you. That we've always tried, and I think AJ's MO as a player, and probably in a very positive way. He doesn't make a lot of poor decisions because he's willing to do that. He's willing to have that kind of patience and make good choices and decisions about, where he goes with the ball. I've said this many, many times before, is, as long as we end every drive in a kick, whether it's an extra point, a field goal, or a punt, we're a lot better off than the other things that could happen. And I think he's done a really good job of making those choices and decisions, and it shows his efficiency and effectiveness, I think, as a quarterback. Well, I think that, our concern is that we get our players to do the right things the right way all the time. And I think that we're not going to be willing to worry about anybody's perception of what's happening if we have to take steps to get guys to do the right things the right way, the right time, and all the time. And, if players are committed and doing the right things, we won't have those issues to be dealing with. But if it's not happening that way, I think the way to get it that way is to make sure everybody knows and understands that in this world that we live in, there's consequences for every choice and decision that you make. Those consequences can be good or they can be bad, all relative to the decisions and choices that you make. And I think that's true in life. I think it's true in any endeavor, including athletics. So to protect players and allow them to think that I don't have to do that is probably doing them a tremendous disservice. It is what it is, and we have to continue to get our players to be committed to doing the right things, and the more players that do that, the better chance we have to be successful.
As a follow-up, if I could, you talked a lot about blinking line, the entitlement. Is that harder to guard against the more success you have?
Well, I think it takes a lot more. To me, your character determines the choices and decisions that you make. Every circumstance and consequence that you have, positively or negative, and how you manage that, always going to go back to that. And understanding the vision of what you have for what you want to accomplish and the best way for you to get there, and being able to stay focused on that. So that's what we try to promote with our players, and that's what we're trying to do, in the program, so that we have more and more people, players, who can be successful. And, I think that, just the way things are right now, and I see it happening, every day, is, the me-first mentality is something that's very difficult to sort of have when you're in such a great team sport like football. And, I think, guys have to understand that you got to put the team first, and you got to buy into the principles and values of the team so that you can have the kind of team chemistry that you need to be successful. Well, I think it's very teachable, and I think it's something that, we emphasize a lot here, and it's a little bit disappointing that we haven't been able to get more turnovers, this year, because I think turnover ratio is one of the most important things in being successful. How many you give up, how many you get. We emphasize it all the time. I think that some players just sort of have a mentality for being able to do it and make it happen, where other players, have a more difficult time sort of developing the kind of habits as a player that would enhance their opportunities to get the ball out, and especially creating fumbles. That's been the thing that we've probably not done as much of. We only had one last week, and it was actually on special teams. So, sometimes it has a little bit to do with the way the other team plays. Loose play downs are probably more where you have an opportunity to get turnovers. But it's something that we're going to continue to emphasize, and something that we're going to continue to try to teach, so that this can be something that's to our advantage, in the future. Well, I think that, you always want to play to your strengths, but I do think that it's really important to have balance, in what you do on offense. And I think that's something that we've continued to try to develop, with our team. I think that if you don't have that, I can't really say we're a pass and a run or run to pass, and I'm not really sure that I could ever say that, regardless of the team we had. I think the goal is always to have good balance, so that the other team has to respect both things, so you can take advantage of, you know, if they're playing a run defense and they got them all up there, you can take advantage of that. If they're playing a lot of split safeties and don't have enough guys in the box, you can take advantage of that. Most people play us to stop the run. And, you know, I think that's why some of the passes have been available to us so far this year. So, you know, we've got to continue to improve in both areas, actually, for us to have the kind of offensive production, especially in explosive plays, running and passing, that we'd like to have as a team. Well, I think, first of all, Kevin's a very consistent player. You know, he practices the same all the time, and I think that that's really important, that, you know, he sort of develops a great chemistry with the quarterback. He's a very athletic guy. He's got good size. He's really developed a lot of toughness as a player, and, you know, he's a very consistent guy. And, you know, he's one of those guys that you always know what you're going to get. And in critical time in the game, he's going to do it exactly like he's always done it, and you can count on it. And he has made a lot of big plays around here in a lot of, you know, difficult situations, and I think that's just the kind of player that he is. And I think A.J. has a lot of confidence in him. I know we have a lot of confidence in him, but we have a lot of confidence in a lot of our receivers. You know, we've got some experience there and some guys that have made explosive plays, and, you know, Kevin's certainly one of those guys. Well, you know, Kristen's kind of a, you know, I think our guys really complement each other very well. You know, Kristen's kind of a, you know, could be a running back, really good, quick, fast slot receiver, hard guy to cover in that scenario. Really good catch it and run it guy. You know, so very good returner. So he has a lot of positive attributes that are a little bit different than some of the other guys, but I think, you know, all those guys complement each other, and that's really what makes our receiving core, I think, pretty unique and pretty good if we can continue to progress. And, you know, Christian's been very productive and very consistent as a performer in every game. He's another guy that's, you know, typically a hard worker, you know, really works well in practice, and I think that's one thing that is really important, because it's the only way you can develop the kind of timing and chemistry with the quarterback that you need to be efficient, you know, in the passing game. So she really enjoys the University of Alabama, the spirit that we have here, the family of people that we have here, the great supporters that we've had here. She really enjoys homecoming. She's the biggest fan of the band, because she was a drum majorette, and she loves the band. She loves the spirit created by, you know, the band. Every home game, she has 16 people in her box that in some kind of way, you know, support the program, or Nick's kids, or whatever it might be. She spends an awful lot of time helping a lot of other people, and, you know, I think we're all fortunate, you know, to have somebody who's as involved and interested, you know, in the community as well as the university as, you know, Miss Terry is. I also get some